Well, what is this contraption I do declare?
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder. Today we'll be playing Robot Eggs in the Timeless format. So this is an eggshell, like we have stuff like Lembas for card draw and chain through your deck, cost reducers like Semblance Anvil, but in this case our win condition is centered around Metalwork Colossus. So it's a 11 mana 10/10 that gets a cost reduction according to the number of non-creature artifacts you control, and you can bring it back to your hand from your graveyard by sacrificing 2 artifacts. So the way we close out the game is by sacrificing Metalwork Colossus to Altar of Dementia, which can mill them for chunks of 10, and then we recur the Colossus and do it over and over again. And with the help of the cost reducers and just amassing a ton of eggs in play, we can maintain this costing 0 and just loop that and mill them out. We have backup win con and Aetherflux Reservoir, so we're hoping to get some crazy eggs mill wins. Alright, so this is a pretty strong hand. Turn 1 Dark Ritual, Semblance Anvil, and the opponent with the heavy mulligan on the other side. Hoping that we don't just see like a static prison eat this up afterwards. So we're going to slam Semblance Anvil. Now even though it is like one of our combo pieces, I am going to tuck an Altar of Dementia. We only need one of them out, and we definitely don't need it out right now. And then with Lembas we see Metalwork Colossus on top, which we also need eventually, but not right now. What we need is like a Mystic Forge and or One Ring. Okay, so there's a One Ring, and that'll help us just keep the cards flowing. Mystic Forge is what we ultimately need. Okay, so there it is. Now, so all 3 of these cards are super strong. Reservoir is like a backup win con, and we have to tuck something under the Semblance Anvil, so I end up tucking the Reservoir just because of the high probability of being able to like really go off with Mystic Forge and One Ring. Though there is risk to that because we only have 1 copy of Reservoir, and we have like other copies of the other stuff, so I could maybe see tucking the One Ring instead right there. But already we're going off pretty hard on turn 2. Candy Trail is going to be able to clear 2 cards off the top. And we have a backup One Ring to reset if things get stuck. So we can activate the One Ring we currently have to clear the Dark Ritual. Okay, so we have a Surveil land. So now we could play the new copy of the ring. And we haven't played a land yet, so that Surveil land is going to get us at least 1 more look. So we'll draw it off the One Ring. Okay, so we did hit another land, so we can clear that one and then see what else we have going on. Alright, Candy Trail, we're back in business. Now I actually make a slight mistake here, and this comes up a lot. You want to put the card draw under the one that you can just cast, because we were going to be able to cast it anyway. And so instead now I drew the one we could have cast off the top and then halted the chain right there. So that was a mistake, and it's something that comes up a lot. It's like a subtle thing, but you want to reverse the order of those. So we've given the opponent a window right here, and then they're capitalizing on it. They're using a Dark Ritual, and we have to see what's in. Alright, so they have a Char Belcher. So it's very clear we're playing against Spy Belcher right now. So this is an upkeep stop. You want to set these when you have Mystic Forges and you want to clear the top of the deck. So that's going to be, so we cleared a land off the top, so we'll be drawing a Candy Trail, so that's going to be really nice. Now, we are definitely in a bit of trouble right here, facing down a Char Belcher with already 2 out of 3 mana sources for activation. So it's now or never, and this is the problem though, is this is an even jankier version of eggs, in which we're trying to mill them, and we're playing against a self-mill deck that actively wants to mill themselves. So this is going to get very interesting. So I'm amassing as many artifacts as possible. We still haven't found a Colossus yet. We have a million Altar of Dementia. So, and you want to be very conscious of your cost reduction. Now we have like a million artifacts. Like we reduced the Metalwork Colossus down properly. So now we can start the process. So I'm going to draw the One Ring. We have another Mystic Forge. Just going to keep playing out as much stuff as possible, and sometimes like the mill situations get a little close because you have to sacrifice some cost reducers, but we have like a million right here. Like we are in no danger. So we'll do the first batch of 10. Okay, so this is one problem, is that the opponent has a reshuffler, so they have a copy of Progenitus in there, and we brought back a Narcomoeba for them. Now the one good thing about this in this matchup is that we can place a bunch of 10/10 blockers in front of their stuff, So what I should have done here is sacrificed the one ring to Colossus, because we have a spare ring in hand. So I'm going to replay Colossus and then hit them again with the Altar of Dementia. So the plan right now is, one, to hope that they don't have a mana source in hand, and then mill them down to just a Progenitus in their deck, and hopefully just out-endure them from that point on. So we're going to Candy Trail. They are going to get a bunch of creatures in play. Like, we see the prized amalgams. We know there's more Narcomoebas in our future. That's the best we can do. It might be worthwhile to stick some Graveyard Hate into this deck, since it is a mill deck. And especially since there's these kind of like dredge decks in the format. So I'm going to hit them again with Altar. And we're going to flip a Creeping Chill. Now, I got dinged by the first one and realized I should set up ring protection so we don't just get rid of our life for no reason. So that's what happened. We got smacked by the first one and then protected ourselves after that. So here we go, merrily milling them. Going to mill them again with Metalwork Colossus. And once again, the hope is to just clear their deck of basically all useful cards and hope that they don't have, because they only have a 2-card hand. They had a heavy mulligan, so we're hoping to be able to punish that here. So here we go again. Alright, didn't hit any Progenituses that time. Hit a bunch of Creeping Chills and Narcomoebas. So I'm going to speed through the prized amalgam triggers because it just takes a while, because when multiple things enter, they each trigger that many times. So I'm being a little bit careful with the artifacts I'm sacrificing, but realistically, like, we're in like no danger here. Sometimes when you need to clear the top of the deck, you sacrifice something plus an Ichor Wellspring to get the death trigger on the Wellspring to draw. Alright, so now we can actually see that they have 2 copies of Progenitus, and those are the last 2 cards in their deck at this point. So I'm going to draw that copy of the One Ring. And we have ring protection, so we're like feeling pretty dang safe in that aspect. And going to just keep playing stuff out for now. We also don't want to deck ourselves before we can actually kill them, so you have to be careful about that. Going to sacrifice some stuff to put a Colossus back into hand. And there's the trick I mentioned earlier by sacrificing Ichor Wellspring. You usually want to pair that with one other just random artifact, and just because you only need 1 instance of draw per double sacrifice to clear the top of the deck. So the opponent has 1,000,000 creatures but only has Progenitus, and they didn't have a land, which is an absolute miracle. So we managed to clear their whole deck, and we can play another One Ring to give ourselves 1 ring protection. Now we have blasted through the One Rings. I checked the graveyard right there, and we're checking it right now, and that's our last copy of the One Ring. So this is our last round of ring protection. We can also play a bunch of 10/10s, and that turns out to be enough. So managed to squeak out a win against Spy Belcher, the deck that actively wants to be milled. And a different end of the spectrum, we're facing turn 1 Ocelot Pride. So this deck can fare pretty well against the creature decks, since we're running One Rings, and we also have like some hefty 10/10s for blocking that are immune to like Fatal Push and Bolt, though they can be swords or solituded, you know. So gonna lead with Lembas to try and okay, Dark Ritual is really nice, so that can help really get the ball rolling. We have 1 cost reducer in Cloud Key. Alright, so this is a very puzzling play to me. I didn't know if they're trying to trigger Revolt or something. Anyway, they end up ghost quartering their own land. I don't know if they thought they'd get the Knight of the White Orchid trigger right then, or if they're just preparing for the subsequent turn to get the Knight of the White Orchid trigger. So going to do Demonic Tutor right here, and I'm going to grab a Semblance Anvil, because we have the Dark Ritual, and Semblance Anvil can help us to really start going off. More so than Cloud Key. Cloud Key is like good, and it's not as costly on cards. So, but as we set up our cost reducers, please pacification array the like button if you like seeing artifact nonsense in action. We're going to play Ichor Wellspring here, and being, you know, we're just hoping Okay, so the opponent misplayed a little bit right there. They should have played the Knight, then played their land drop to get the free mana source. However, despite that, we are just eating some damage from them. And we have a One Ring, so we're feeling pretty good. Going to lead with the Surveil land, and a Cloud Key is pretty nice. But I'm already feeling like, so our cost reducing situation is already going to be pretty good with this Cloud Key. Like, at most, anything in our deck is going to cost 1 mana. So what we need right now is a Mystic Forge to really get things going. I'm going to play Reservoir here to start recouping some life. And there's the big question for me that maybe not most people are asking is Aetherflux Reservoir versus this milling win condition. And there's pros and cons for each. Honestly, I think the straight up Reservoir version is just stronger, but there are some upsides that this version has. You have like a squad of 10/10s as a natural backup win condition, whereas the Reservoir plan is like really all in. Like if it gets surgical, then you're like in a really tough spot. So, but this one is like a 2-card combo because you need Altar of Dementias and Colossuses, whereas Reservoir is like a 1-card win con, you know. So anyway, part of me wonders if the main win con should be Reservoirs with like 1 Altar and 1 Colossus in there as like a backup. So since we have the Reservoir, I'm just going for the Reservoir combo here. And the thing is, like, they do work well together. Like looping Colossus just ups the storm count and can just set off a Reservoir all by itself, you know. So we have that going for us. And now that you like seen the combo executed, I'm going to accelerate through all other iterations of it. And yeah, the opponent has seen enough, so we're on to the next game. And a pretty strong hand, hoping they don't have anything to ruin our day. I'm going to wait until I can Dark Ritual out a One Ring or a Mystic Forge. So we're hoping that the opponents don't like make us discard our Dark Ritual here. Alright, so opponent finds a mana source off of Once Upon a Time, plays a tap line and passes. I find that you face this choice quite often of Mystic Forge versus One Ring in the early game, like off a Dark Ritual or something. I've found it better to lead with the One Ring. It depends, like if you're facing a creature deck, but generally, like the One Ring helps you dig a little faster, and the Mystic Forge really shines once you have the cost reducers in play, and it's not as good without them. All right, this is looking bad for us. Alright, so opponent is going to grief us. Now we have ring protection, but they just want the creature in play so that they can sacrifice it. So the opponent has turboed out a bunch of mana. And here's another Spy Belcher deck. So they have the Balustrade Spy, and they're going to mill their whole deck. And let's see, looks like they have 1 reshuffler. And they're going to get a bunch of Silver Smoke Ghouls. So we are going to have a chance to try and respond right here. So it's going to be an uphill battle. Like we sort of need like to just basically draw like Dark Ritual plus One Ring right here to try and stay alive. So we're going to draw out the One Ring and see what we find. Now we find Ichor Wellspring, which is not going to be quite good enough. So I'm going to redraw again to see if we can still spike like a Dark Ritual, because we did find a Dark Ritual, but it's just not good enough. Now it turns out the opponent just straight up has the win right here. So they can flashback Turn the Earth and put a single copy of Reanimate back into their deck. So now their deck was Progenitus plus Reanimate. They can sacrifice a Silver Smoke Ghoul in case they didn't draw the Reanimate, and then cast it to reanimate Thoracle and just win right there. So that's the game against them, and on to the next one. So, and yeah, so we're going to lead with the Crystal Grotto. As much as we want Mystic Forge, we need mana sources right here. So going to bottom that. We have all of our cost reducers, so we just need to get them into play. Alright, blue-white source on the other side. That could be tough potentially. Gonna just toss out the Altar of Dementia. Would love if they just countered it right there and used a spell pierce or something on it. Alright, so it is a blue-white surveil land. And they're going to mill away an Uro. So that is one concern with the mill plan, is setting up opponents' graveyards for like Flages and Uros and stuff like that. Or even Spy Belcher, you know, prized amalgams and stuff. I'm keeping the pacification array, or sorry, keeping the cloud key on top, just because if any of our cost reducers get destroyed, I want to be able to deploy some more. Alright, so opponent's going to flash in Containment Priest. So like if they besiege you our Semblance Anvil, it'd be like devastating to have gone all in on that. So, alright, opponent has a Feudal the Dead. There's a Metalwork Colossus. So we're going to lead with the... So I was going to lead with Cloud Key, but then I decided the upside of Semblance Anvil is much higher, and the opponent doesn't have double blue, so like there's not mana drain. Like they could have Memory Lapse, you know, for example, but decided to go for it in the face of them not having double blue. So here comes a One Ring. Let's see if it resolves. So maybe they have a Spell Pierce, I don't know, but they're presumably they're just letting all of our things resolve. So we're going to just run with it. Play the Conduit Pylons. There's another copy of the One Ring. Just going to keep that. It's at least a redraw, and going to play out the Colossus and then just put Jegantha into hand. And with the Jegantha Companion, like, it is relevant. Like sometimes you do need that extra creature to help mill them sometimes. So in response to the swords, I am going to mill them with Altar of Dementia because we can make use of the Colossus in our graveyard. We don't really care about the life because the opponent doesn't appear to be the deck that's going to put our life total under pressure. Like we see, like, you know, 3 fairies and Uros and stuff in the graveyard. Alright, so they're gonna Uro right now. Let's see if they manage to find another land. Okay, so they miss a land right there. They would have loved to march closer to like Field of the Dead being live. Alright, so there's our One Ring. Going to draw right here, looking for Mystic Forge. Cloud Key is just a free one right here. So we didn't find Mystic Forge, but we did find Inventors Fair, which we can sacrifice to find Mystic Forge. Now this is something you want to pay attention to. Like if you're going to replay a One Ring, sometimes it makes sense just to rebuy a Colossus before you basically make use of that piece of cardboard before you play and legend rule your old One Ring away, you know. So I'm gonna play a new ring, and alright, still no Mystic Forge. So just gonna play the Colossus and play Inventors Fair, so we can crack the Inventors Fair to grab a Mystic Forge. Alright, so there's a Leyline Binding. So they're going to grab our One Ring, but for us, we're actually more concerned with them grabbing one of our cost reducers. But the thing is, they're both important to our game plan. Now, I'm milling them right here because I'm going to sacrifice the One Ring and the Lembas just to make use, once again, make use of the cardboard before it gets exiled. We don't really care about them, like, leaving the One Ring under the binding right here. So, opponent's going to crash in, and we've rebought our Colossus. We're going to crack Inventors Fair. Now, I wouldn't have done that if it dropped us below 3 artifacts, because then Inventors Fair wouldn't be able to go off right here. So that's one thing to pay attention to, but we had enough to make it happen that way. So here comes the Mystic Forge, and we're going to see if we can try and close them out this turn. Alright, accelerating through the iterations. So we're going to hit them with Colossus, mill them again, play Semblance Anvil. Once you have enough cost reducing, you don't need to keep tucking things under Semblance Anvil because you're just going to sack them anyway. And playing Colossus, and the opponent just packs it in. So we were almost certainly going to go all the way there, and the opponent had seen enough. So another strong hand. It is, in the face of hand disruption, we're going to Dark Ritual here and play Semblance Anvil. This is always a tough spot. Like, what do you tuck under it? We want Mystic Forge, we want One Ring, and we want Cloud Key. I decide, as important as Mystic Forge is, like, in case the opponent blows up the Semblance Anvil, I'd love to have the backup Cloud Key. So the opponent plays a fetch land and passes. That's a tap land at this point, so we're going to get rid of Hive. And going to play a Cloud Key. And then play a One Ring. And just hoping it doesn't get spell pierced. Okay, so the One Ring resolved. And let's see what we can make of it. Alright. Bricked so far. And I hope we're not going to regret getting rid of that Mystic Forge. Okay, another blue-white land. So, depending on the counterspell situation. Alright, so double blue is available. Alright, Fomori Vault is amazing, because that's basically like a tutor that's non-interactable, or at least not easily interactable from the opponent. Going to Surveil first, because that could help fix our One Ring draw right here. So we're going to draw off the One Ring. We have a cost reduction of 3 right now. And the nice thing is we have so many cards that they could counter that just they'd hate to waste a whole card on, like Ichor Wellspring. Now this is risky right here. Just lobbing out a Colossus into possible mana drain basically turns their mana drain into channel. So fortunately they didn't counter it. Maybe it's the fact that we can rebuy it, but I'm just going to put Jegantha into hand with the extra mana and pass to them. Alright, so we don't have an altar to protect our Colossus, so it does get swords there. Alright, this opponent has another Surveil land, and they pass back to us. So now we have plenty of life to play with the One Ring, thanks to our Colossus getting swords right there. And then the opponent's going to hit us with the Upkeep Orim's Chant. And so now I'm like, okay, this is a different style of control deck right here. It's possibly like a Turbo Fog deck. So I'm a little worried, because I'm like, like Orim's Chant stops us from casting spells, and we hope to do a lot of spell casting in this deck. Now the thing is, the opponent is going to have to just keep chaining those, which looks like they're prepared to do so with the Mystic Sanctuary, because any window we get, we can start going. But then the opponent follows up with a Narset, and I'm just like, oh no, okay, it's getting really bad, because we haven't found a Mystic Forge, and our primary means of doing so is like One Ring and or Mystic Forge. So anyway, as we fire up the Fomori Vault, let me know in the comments, like, do you want me to see me play like an Orim's Chant / Silence deck? I've thought about it, but anyway, let me know if you're interested in something like that. So we're going to activate Fomori Vault. We still no Mystic Forge in sight. So our upkeep happens again, and they're going to fire off the chant one more time. So it's like another time walk for the opponent. And we're amassing stuff. So trying to think about what to do here. We need to find a Mystic Forge and need to make it through the Orim's Chants / counter spells the opponent might have. And Narset is just going to make that more difficult for us. So I could activate the One Ring on their turn, because Narset allows you 1 draw per turn. But I am a little worried about amassing too many counters on it with no way of getting rid of it. So, but by some miracle, they don't chant us right here. And so we're going to get to play some spells. So lead with the Dark Ritual. And going to play a Cloud Key. Now the thing is, without them destroying our cost reducers, like, we are going to have like a lot of stuff for them to deal with. Alright, so they're going to Subtlety our Metalwork Colossus. And so the deck they're playing actually reminds me of like a blue-white prison control deck I played with subtleties and stuff like this. And I'll link it right here for your enjoyment. Now, I'm going to play Semblance Anvil. We already cost reduced all of our artifacts, so not going to tuck anything. And with the surplus mana, I'm actually going to, and making sure to add 1 colorless to the pool to make sure it doesn't use up all our black mana. I'm going to activate Fomori Vault. Once again, we're under Narset, so we can't just draw the Colossus off the top. And I would just take a Mystic Forge over a Colossus right here, but it's just a bunch of like mana sources. So going to replay the Colossus, because it can at least threaten Narset. And calculating right here, if we have enough mana to Dark Ritual out a Jegantha, but we were just one short because we have to filter one of the black mana into red or green. So I'm gonna play the One Ring and pass. Now with that fresh copy of the One Ring, like it's not gonna be dealing us as much damage. Once again, the opponent swords us and we don't have an altar to protect it. I'm playing the One Ring and planning to activate it on their turn to dig at least one card deeper. Okay, so the opponent is gonna grab another Orm's Chant with the Mystic Sanctuary. The thing is, we're like completely shields up right now. So on their end step, we're gonna draw, and we found the Mystic Forge. Now we're facing a blue deck though with like probably ample counter spells. So I'm going to activate Fomori Vault, and you could see like this. It's really shining in this matchup right here, just helping us dig super far in the deck. I'm only playing one right here, but I can honestly see the just warranting playing more of them. Alright, so that's perfect. So we found another copy of Mystic Forge in case this eats a counterspell. Alright, so this one is going to get mana drained. And we're hoping that this one resolves. And we're just trying to overload their counter magic. Alright, so we did manage to get there. So there's the Aetherflux Reservoir. And now we're off to the races. So there's the Mystic Forge. And there's Colossus. So once again, we are still stuck under Narset. Alright, so opponent is going to Subtlety the Metalwork Colossus. Unfortunately, this is one of those you have no power here moments because we can just recast it back off the top, and now we're moving. So we don't have the card draw, but we have the Colossus loop to gain enough life and just dome them. So on to the next game. That was an awesome battle against control. So, alright, black-white land from the opponent. So I kept this land off the strength of Dark Ritual and hoping that Candy Trail could help us find a black source. So against a black deck, this is why I'm hesitating right here, is because do I want the extra Semblance Anvil in case they thought sees our existing one away? Because the cost reducers are that important, but it may not be like relevant soon. Okay, so here's the disruption right here. So opponent's going to grief us, and if they take the Dark Ritual... Alright. So they're going to sacrifice it to Phyrexian Tower first. And then take our Ichor Wellspring, surprisingly. So but I guess in their mind, we don't have a black source for Dark Ritual. Okay, that makes sense. So the opponent does resolve a Necro and then fires that up. So I always accelerate through Necros because they just take a while to execute everything. So, alright, so this is a different style of like Necro. It doesn't seem like it's one of the like storm ones because we saw a Sorin in the graveyard. So we found our cost reducer. The problem is we can't slam both it and like an Aetherflux Reservoir. Now this appears to be a combo matchup, so like we don't really care about getting the Colossus in play. Like there is something to be said about trying to drop a 10/10 and just smack them with one attack, like given that they're gonna be low on life due to Necro. Alright, so Greedy Freebooter from the opponent, amassing some mana. Alright, this opponent's going to activate Necro once. Alright, Priest of Gix, which is going to generate triple black. So another Priest of Gix, and now I'm a little worried because I'm like, okay, well that could be all they need to like set up a combo right here. Alright, so they're tucking something under Chromox again, and they're playing a Sorin. So the opponent didn't quite find what they needed yet, so they're just going to Necro again. Now we do have Reservoir, but it's just it seems like it might be too little too late. We don't have like any card advantage engines right now, and like if we can make it to our turn, we might be able to like go off, but we're still missing like a few pieces. Now the chance of that just went down drastically with the Diabolic Intent. So the opponent eventually plays Thawning Nightmare and starts looping Priest of Gix and going mana positive with them because they enter and make triple black. So they're looping two priests right here, and I'm basically just waiting to see like do they have a finisher right here. And then once I see the Vein Ripper, go ahead and concede because that's going to kill us with the Death Trigger. So we're on to the next game. And this hand has a lot of selection. So we have like Surveil Land and Candy Trail. Alright, Virtue of Strength, rebuying the Prismatic Vista. I'm going to lead with Vault of Whispers because Candy Trail's already scrying 2, and so we'll save the Surveil land for next turn. We do want... I would decide to keep 1 mana source and still trying to fish for like a Dark Ritual, but don't want to go too all in on that. Alright, 1 ring seems like it'll be pretty good, and the opponent passes with green-white mana, so just going to Lembas the 1 ring into our hand. Now, with the land drop, we will be able to Semblance Anvil and start doing something next turn. Alright, so the opponent plays a Camball, passes back to us. Still trying to figure out what's going on the other side of the battlefield. It's not something I've seen before. Alright, Hidden Grotto. And getting rid of a land, now it's the question of what to tuck under the Semblance Anvil. It seems pretty clear to stick a Colossus. We want to keep all of our like card draw engines. Like one ring and Mystic Forge are super important. So we still sort of need lands at this point because we haven't reduced all the way down to 0. Alright, Scrawling Crawler is actually a little bit tough because we have like Ichor Wellsprings, Lembas's 1 rings, you know, so like that is going to be pretty damaging to our life total. So there's the first Scrawling Crawler trigger that we're going to take. Now I kept the land here, that way I could play both Mystic Forge and 1 ring. So decide to lead with the 1 ring and just draw the Mystic Forge. Anyway, yeah, so and we take some Scrawling Crawler damage from that. Now I believe it is life loss, so it's going to get us through ring protection, so we are not safe from it. So going to play Lembas and going to get rid of the Mystic. We're looking for like the last cost reducing piece at this point. Yeah, so Scrawling Crawler is life loss, so we're gonna have to pay attention to that because we can't ring protect our way through it like we would like Bowmasters, for example. Alright, so Crawler is going to ding us again. And they're gonna crack Prismatic Vista. So 5 basics so far, and they play Kodama of the West Tree. And with the green adventure enchantment that we could see, the opponent does appear to have like a basic land focus in their deck, so they're probably running like Prismatic Vistas, maybe in like Fabled Passages, Evolving Wilds, you know, to try and utilize that enchantment, which is pretty ambitious. But I'm gonna start going off right here, taking damage to Scrawling Crawler along the way, and trying to desperately find either a source of life gain or a way to start going after them right here. Now the missing piece right now, we're missing Altar of Dementia, so I'm going to crack Candy Trail. Now Candy Trail can gain us some life, and like Lembas as well, so I'm not super concerned. But the opponent does have like some attackers, but putting some blockers into play is going to help. Now we did finally find some altars here, so I'm going to start activating. It's at this point where I look, I'm like, wait a second, they have like 1 million cards in their deck. And turns out, but when we started milling, they had like 78 cards or something like that. So I was trying to figure out if we could go all the way. So I'm like, and it does seem like we've gone off hard enough right here that we can sacrifice Colossus while still preserving enough cost reduction to keep going. And so that's the thing, is that we can even mill out like super huge decks with this loop right here. And the opponent does seem to have like a 5-color Legends thing on hard mode with the basic sub-theme. So very interesting build from them. But we're just going to keep looping the Colossus right here. And as I'm selecting the last few, the opponent packs it in. Well, this is just a silly deck. Like, it takes an eggshell and then makes it even weirder by adding that mill sub-theme. I honestly think that just straight up at the Aetherflux Reservoir as your main win con is just better. There are small upsides for like the Colossus plan. Like, you can just attack with them if like you get your altars surgical and stuff like that. So there is some upsides. Also, like Aetherflux Reservoir like doesn't really benefit you from having gone off on previous turns. Like, you need to play it and then go off after that. Whereas this one can benefit on previous turns. If you go off a lot and then you find the pieces, then you can just finish them off. So it does have that small upside. I don't think it's worth trying to turn this into a Chrome Mox deck, although it would benefit from like the acceleration. You'd have to load so many MDFCs in the mana base, and I think the Surveils / Scries are just straight up better. So Altar of the Brood is one I've been thinking about. Like, you could sort of just scrap the whole Altar of Dementia plus Colossus plan and just put Altar of the Broods. It would be insanely tedious though, because not only do you have like casting a million spells to do on your turn, but then you'd have like a million of these Altar of the Brood triggers. But it could be pretty resilient, sort of like a 1-card package like Aetherflux Reservoir, but with like a mill flair to it. So something to consider. There's other eggs you can play in this deck, but I think in this version that sacrifices, you want Ichor Wellsprings. In the Aetherflux Reservoir one, you can put better eggs inside there. So, but yeah, that's the deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.